This is a quick video to show you how to use your diagnostic scan tool on diesel engine in conjunction with some type of tailpipe analysis tool. As long as it can measure NOx, you can use that tailpipe tester. So whether it be a 5-gas or standalone NOx, doesn't matter. But using those two tools in conjunction with each other will make diesel SCR Diagnostics a heck of a lot easier than what it is today. You know, some vehicles have a diagnostic procedure that includes multiple regens and road tests and SCR system tests, and it might run out to about 4 hours in diagnostic time. And this can really chop that diagnostic time down to a little more than a road test. So this is the first video in a series of a couple to show you how to do that. Before we get started, I want to name some of the components we've got in our diagram here. So here's a picture of my exhaust system. Engine would be to the left. First thing my exhaust is going to hit is my diesel oxidation catalyst. This is like an old school catalyst we find in some of the original gas engines. Basically anything that hits this thing burns. Next, I have my diesel particulate filter. This is where we're going to capture and regenerate soot. So that's where regens happen. This stuff here has nothing to do with what we're going to be talking about, which is SCR. So next is my first SCR component. It's my DEF injector. We squirt DEF in the exhaust, blend it, mix it. Then we hit the SCR. This is where I'm going to be reducing NOx, getting rid of my NOx emissions. And then at the very back of the exhaust, I have a slip catalyst. This gets rid of any spare ammonia that comes out the exhaust pipe. Last but not least, I'm going to have a couple of NOx sensors as well. They're going to tell the PCM how much NOx I have coming out of the engine and how much NOx I've got coming out of the tailpipe. I've also added a couple other pictures here. So now I've got a scanner on the bottom left. It's showing my NOx sensor readings. And again, 300 parts per million out of the motor. And if my system is not working, so my DEF injector is turned off, system's warming up, but I've got 300 parts per million coming out of the engine, I'll have 300 parts per million coming out of the tailpipe. So no NOx reduction. Also, my tailpipe analyzer in the bottom right is also going to show 300 parts per million. It's going to show no difference between the two. Now at this point, you're probably thinking, having a tailpipe analyzer in here is not all that helpful. If I'm able to see NOx in and NOx out on the scan tool, why do I need a tailpipe analyzer to help me? And here's why. The NOx sensors that are on the vehicle are not able to tell the difference between NOx and ammonia. When my SCR begins to fail, not only will I have NOx that didn't get reduced go out the tailpipe, I'll also have ammonia that didn't get reacted going out the tailpipe. My outlet NOx sensor on the truck will start to read a higher number than actual NOx. Now here's where the tailpipe analyzer helps, is that it doesn't see that ammonia. And I'm able to see true NOx out the tailpipe. And so that difference right there between true NOx going out the tailpipe and what the vehicle thinks it has for NOx going out the tailpipe is where you're going to be able to very rapidly diagnose your SCR. So now we've reached the point where all of my components are warmed up enough in order for the system to work properly. My DEF injector turns on. You'll notice 300 parts per million NOx coming out of the engine. And DEF injector is squirting. I've got some ammonia in my SCR, and I've only got about 30 parts per million coming out the tailpipe. And this is typical. 85–90% reduction is normal, and we're going to stick with nice round numbers here, so we'll talk 90% reduction, right? So 300 parts per million in, 30 parts per million out, and so far everybody still agrees. NOx sensors on the vehicle appear correct on the scan tool, and tailpipe analysis showing the same numbers. Now we'll finally get to see how tailpipe analysis helps in SCR diagnostics. So we're simulating a total SCR failure here. I have 300 parts per million out of the engine again. Inlet NOx sensor sees it. My DEF injector is on and squirting. And because we're injecting DEF at a rate to have a 1-to-1 ratio between ammonia and NOx, I will have a double NOx reading on my outlet sensor, or outlet NOx sensor. So here's the way it goes. Inlet NOx sensor is reading 300 parts per million. Outlet NOx sensor is reading 600 parts per million. you as a technician to go, no way is that possible. I know I can't be making NOx emissions in my exhaust unless you know that the NOx sensor can't tell the difference between NOx and ammonia. So the outlet NOx sensor is reading both my NOx emissions and my ammonia, and so it's seeing double the number. Thankfully, though, the tailpipe analyzer is not going to read that ammonia, and so my tailpipe analyzer will show roughly 300 parts per million in NOx, and so I'll say, all right, look, here's what I know. I got 300 parts per million out of the engine. I know I've got 300 parts per million truly coming out of the tailpipe, and simple math is going to show you that the rest of that is going to be ammonia. As typical it is to see total failures, you'll also see partial failures of the SCR. So here's an example of one. Again, we're sticking with nice round numbers. So here my SCR will be half dead. So I'll have, in this case, 300 parts per million out of the engine. My inlet NOx sees it and counts it. My outlet NOx sensor, however, is reading 50% of my normal NOx, because again, if my SCR is half dead, I'll have 150 parts per million, and then it'll see 150 parts per million of the unreacted ammonia. And so it's reading 300 parts per million. It's acting like the DEF injector isn't squirting at all. And here I wouldn't know if that's the case. Is my DEF injector totally plugged and not squirting anything? Or is my SCR catalyst half dead? And this is where the gas bench course is going to help you out. It's going to give you an answer instantaneously. So again, I see 300 parts per million out of the motor. My gas bench will show 150 parts per million. Again, simple math, go, oh man, look at that. My SCR is only about half working, and the rest is ammonia. And so as quickly as that, I'm able to use my scan tool and tailpipe NOx analysis on a road test to quickly determine exactly what's going on with the SCR. Now, if we didn't have the problem with the NOx sensors not knowing the difference between NOx and ammonia, we wouldn't need this tailpipe tester at all. But as long as those things are built like that, using portable NOx on a road test on diesel SCR is going to be the fastest way out there for diagnosing failed SCRs. So I hope this video is helpful. I know not everyone has a spare handheld gas bench laying around the shop, but if you do, you may as well put that thing to work to diagnose diesel exhaust systems as well as gasoline engines. And so again, thank you. Appreciate you watching.